Whenever I'm asked what are the most essential skills a musician can develop, ear training comes to the top of the list. Top 3. This lesson is going to be just taking you from the total beginner, as if you've never trained your ear, you've never even thought about it, and moving us quite advanced. It may not be something you can just tackle all at once, but I really recommend watching this whole video because I'm going to be taking you from even what ear training is, let's define it, let's talk about how it's utilized, and then all the way into learning songs, using songs you know as an ear training tool. So even if you're away from your guitar, you can think of a song and train your ear. Really, when you get sort of past the basics, you can begin to just compose in your mind, listen in your mind, and of course your voice as well. And you basically can navigate through music. It takes it from sort of a mysterious area of these are just sounds going by to I recognize what's going on. I can almost see the notes move in my mind. So let's take it from that introduction into the guitar. And really the guitar is our teacher. The guitar is its own ear training course because the string itself is a wonderful physical example of how we can see intervals. And what I mean by that is that at the 12th fret here and at the 7th fret, we have 2 very, very important intervals, which I'm going to talk about. So let's define some terms. Again, I promised you I'd make this accessible for a total beginner in ear training. What's an interval? Before we even go into exercises. Well, an interval is the distance between 2 notes. So if I have an open E string and then a 12th fret harmonic or 12th fret fretted, which are the same note, I have an octave. That's called a perfect octave, okay? Or a perfect 8 if you want to be a little more academic about it. So an interval is the distance between 2 notes. Another example, which is really important to know, is a perfect 5th. Okay, that's up to the 7th fret. If you play the 7th fret harmonic, you also get a perfect 5th. It's actually an octave and then a perfect 5th. So still a perfect 5th. You can see that if you play an E5, right? If you play an E5 power chord, you have a root and a 5th. So that's a perfect 5th. So the interval is the distance between 2 notes. Why is this important? Well, because notes are constantly interacting with each other, whether it's in a chord, whether it's in a scale, whether it's a progression of chords and how the chords change, a melody, a riff, etc., on and on and on. And so intervals are just the distance between these notes. I can hear a song and hear the intervals between the bass notes and pretty much learn the song quickly. Now let's clear something else up. Having a well-trained ear does not mean perfect pitch. Completely different. And you can have perfect pitch. I don't. But that's pretty rare. And it's something that you're generally born with, but you can be trained. I know that you can, learn to have perfect pitch, but it's very rare and not really worth your time, in my opinion. What's much more worth your time is developing relative pitch. And almost every professional musician, regardless if they're born with perfect pitch, most of them are not, including myself, they will be able to pick up a song by ear quickly. You can train your ear, and it's not a big deal necessarily to train your ear to have relative pitch. So this is the idea that if I have a single note, I should be able to train my ear to hear every other note and know what that note is. Not necessarily always in letters, because if I don't even know that this is an E, I can still hear that this is a perfect 5th. I can hear that this is a perfect 4th. So I can just hear a song, not even know what the key is, and pretty much know how to play the song in any key. Okay, so there's my little spiel on ear training. It's not perfect pitch. It's something that can be developed through relative pitch. Now let's outline what we need to do and what we don't need to do, because there's some courses out there on ear training that are a little bit too arduous and too steep, way too steep for a beginner. So as a beginner, we don't need to focus on every interval because they're not all equally important. So what we need to do is focus on the important intervals, all right? So you got to have a perfect octave down. You should be able to do it in all 3 places here. Here's 12th fret, and say that's a perfect octave. On the guitar, you can also go here or here, and just know that that's a perfect octave. You can repeat that for all the strings. I'll do A string next. Okay? I found the 3 unisons. Now, in fact, unisons are an interval. So if I go from 2nd fret G string to 7th fret D string, that's a perfect 1. I know it sounds silly. But if you can hear that, that's the same note. Then if you can hear that these are octaves of the same note, meaning the same letter, A, but an octave apart. Same with D, same with G. Sorry. When you get to B, we have one less B to play, one fewer B. When we get to E, we only have that one for an octave. So, that would be your interval warm-up, your octave warm-up. Just perfect octave. Then you sing it without playing it. Perfect octave. Then check yourself. Okay, A, can you do it without playing it first? Perfect octave. Good. This seems simple, but believe me, if you skip this, you're not going to really have a head start on the other intervals. You need to know that octave. All right, next is the perfect fifth. We want to be able to play this note to this note and hear it and sing it. Hear it in our mind. Perfect fifth. If that's too low, you can do it on the A string. And you should do it on all the strings, right? Perfect fifth. Good, it's there. Now, funny thing about the perfect fifth is that it's already in the note. It's an upper harmonic. After the octave, if I just lightly push my finger on that string, we see the harmonic is isolated, and the perfect fifth is in the note. It's in the A note. So yes, it's an E, but what we care about more than the letter is the interval. This is where relative pitch doesn't really care about letters, but more about numbers, okay? So there's a perfect fifth. Now, why would we need a perfect fifth? Well, because every song, almost every song, I shouldn't say every song, most every song in a major key has a 5 chord. And so, can you hear the distance between the root and the fifth? If you can hear the tonic of the song, let's say I'm in G, can I sing a perfect fifth? And if I can recognize the 5 chord. So I'm going to go, perfect fifth. There we go, D chord. Now this can actually help my guitar fretboard knowledge, because if I can know a perfect fifth in my voice, I can just follow that with my finger. Okay, that's a D, good. I know the 5 chord's a D chord. I can even hear it. My mind and my ear are teaching my hands. That's a big goal to have, is that if your ear can teach your hands, you're set. So now I go, perfect fifth, play the chord. I've now got a 1-5 progression using my ear. All right, that's true with every key. You might pick a different key each day. Now I'll do A. Okay, can I hear a perfect fifth? Can you do it? Go ahead and pause the video if you want. Perfect fifth. Good. So now that's an E note. So now I'm going to play an E chord instead of the note. Now it's going down to an E bass, so that's a whole different discussion. You can go down a fourth to the 5. So let me back up and not confuse us, but it is sort of a magical, never-ending circle of both directions in music. So you have circle of fifths, circle of fourths. They're all kind of weaving around. So I'm going to hesitate and back away from too much theory right now. We just want to do the perfect fifth. We'll get to the fourth. All right, let's do D now. Can you hear the fifth? Perfect. Go ahead and pause it and try it. Perfect fifth. What note is that? That's an A note. I can see the octave, and it's an A. Or I could just go up to that A right there. All right, so A, perfect fifth, perfect fifth. Now put the guitar down. Perfect fifth. Good. All right, so you've trained an octave and a fifth, but now we're going to really drive it home with some songs that are very famous to help you train these intervals. An octave, what we all use in music school, is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow. So the first 2 notes are a perfect octave. Somewhere, perfect octave. Okay, that one's pretty easy. How about a fifth? Well, we can use Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, all the way back to our childhood here. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. So perfect fifth. That might be a little low for you on the E string. I have a kind of a lower voice, so I'll do it on the A string. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Twinkle, twinkle, perfect fifth. And you can do that away from the guitar. All right, so you've got the perfect octave and the perfect fifth. Now we really need to train the fourth, okay? Because fourth is very, very common, especially in blues and rock. We see the 4 chord almost in every major key song and many minor key songs as well. Even if you don't see the 4 chord, you're going to see a distance of a 4th interval in the chord progression. So more on that in a bit. All right, so let's look at a new key. Let's say I'm looking at, C. All right, well, the 4th is an easy one on the fretboard because it's just down a string. The guitar is tuned in 4ths, except for the 3rd to 2nd string, which is tuned in a major 3rd. So that's 5 frets. So if I say perfect 4th, I can also do it in the same string. How would I train that interval? Here Comes the Bride is what we use in music school usually. Here comes the bride, perfect 4th, perfect 4th, here comes the bride. So that would be C to F. Now, if I'm playing a chord progression, I also want to know where the 4 chord is from any chord. So let's take a new key. How about G? And I go perfect 4th. And if I need to use Here Comes the Bride, I can. Here comes the 4. In this case, though, we're going back to the G. So I go, what interval is that? Perfect 4, back to 1, 1, 4, 1, here comes the bride. Okay, so perfect 4th. Now we need major 3rd. So now this is our first major interval. We've done only perfect intervals. Perfect is meaning it can't be major or minor. Octave, 5th, and 4th can be neither major nor minor. They just are. They just are perfect. They're stabilizing harmony notes. All right. Now the 3rd can be minor, but we need to start with major. The major 3rd is pretty early on in the harmonic series. So if I look at the string here, the first one is the octave. Second harmonic to show up naturally in a note, just in nature, is a 5th. Then, kind of hard to hear, but that's a 3rd. So that shows up in the note. So that's a major 3rd. It's 2 whole steps or 4 frets away. So let's get away from the bass. Let's do a G string here. Major 3rd, major 3rd. Now, lucky for us, the G and B strings are tuned into major 3rd. So you can just go back and forth. Major 3rd, major 3rd. If your voice is lower, go down an octave. Right? Major 3rd. Now, this is a very important interval because it's in every major chord we have a major 3rd. So I could go to any G note and just play a major 3rd, even way up here. And that's going to be a really important note for melodies and for chords. We don't see the 3 chord a lot well, we do see it a lot, just not as much as the 4 and 5 chords. So it's less about a chord progression and more about can you hear the 3rd inside of a chord. Okay? We're almost there. We have a couple more to go. Now we have a minor 3rd. Now a minor 3rd is when we take the 3rd and flat it. All right, so it becomes a minor 3rd. That's the flat 3 of E. So now it's an E minor. So if you can hear that minor 3rd. Now I want to turn this on its head a little bit though, because minor is great, but let's say we're in a major chord. From B to D, inside the chord itself, is a minor 3rd. So now we have a major 3rd, and then 3 to 5 is a minor 3rd, minor 3rd. It's true, I can think of this as the minor 3rd of B minor, but I can also think of it as the 5 to 3 of G. So it's a minor 3rd. So you have a major 3rd, minor 3rd. Now we're getting into more advanced territory. If I lost you there, don't worry. There'll be a study guide of this all on the Patreon where you can check this out and work at your own pace. But just starting with the beginner exercises are going to be huge, and you can work your way to understanding how a chord, a major chord, is a major 3rd and a minor 3rd. Now, if you want to train your ear in a major 3rd with a famous melody, When the Saints Go Marching In is a good choice. Oh, when the Saints, major 3rd, okay, major 3rd, the Saints. So now, you would put the guitar down and say, oh, when, and make sure that's a major 3rd. Oh, when, here comes the bride. Twinkle, twinkle, somewhere. So I'm just going the distance. I'm not even worrying about vertical positions. I'm just going the distance of the interval. That's why this is taking you from a total beginner. You don't even need to know scale positions or even crazy chords or anything. We're just moving the finger in the right amount of interval, right amount of frets for each interval. And you can go slow. I'm speeding through this because I want to get through a lot. Now, we've done perfect octave, perfect fifth, perfect fourth, major thirds, minor thirds. Okay, good. When I do a minor chord, I can flip the paradigm there, and I can start with a minor third and then go to a major third. All right? So, a good example would be A minor. Here's the bass. We have a perfect fifth there. Nice. Followed by a perfect fourth. From the fifth to the one is a perfect fourth, so you can perfect fifth, perfect fourth. But now from this root, here's an A, minor third. I have a minor third interval to start. What about from the flat 3 to the 5? It's 4 frets. So that would be major third, major third. So minor third, major third. Can you sing it? Minor third, major third, major third, minor third. That's correct. I can verify this with one string. Minor third, major third, perfect fourth. Right? The ear kind of knows this stuff, so you're just connecting the mind with your ear. That's what you're doing. All right. Finally, we have seconds. Seconds are actually quite common in practice because they're scales. So if I take a G major scale, I'm basically just playing a bunch of seconds. So if it's a whole step, it's a major second. So major second. Interval for that would be happy birthday. Happy birthday, major second. Okay? So I go up whole steps, both major seconds. Here's a minor second. Minor second is 1 fret. Now, the Jaws is a great example. Right? So that's minor. Minor second, just 1 fret. And that's true anywhere. That's a minor second. That's a minor second. Doesn't matter what note. Okay? Back to major seconds. And then here's a minor second. Jaws, minor second. So scales are seconds, either major or minor. There you go. If you do chord tones, you're playing a lot of thirds and fourths. If you're playing scales, you're playing seconds. If you're playing spread triads, you're playing a lot of fifths and sixths, which is a whole different topic. And you can kind of go from there, but you really don't need to start there. I would start with exactly the order that I gave you. Octaves, fifths, fourths, thirds, seconds. If you want to do six, you can say, well, here I'm going to kind of jump into the deep end, so just stick with me for a sec. If I have a major third, I can move this G up an octave, and now I have a minor sixth. So it goes from major third to minor sixth. Same thing on the next third. Here's A and C, which is part of the G major scale. There's a minor third. I take this A up an octave. Now I have a major sixth. So it has to equal 9. 3 plus 6 has to go from minor to major or from major to minor. I had to zip through that because that's not really what I want to focus on. Now, part 2 of this video. If you're still with me, thank you. I really appreciate you watching the whole video because it's very important, I think, for you to sort of train your ear. So I really hope that this helps. The next thing we can do is we can train our ear with chord progressions. This is where we really start having some fun. If I take Louie Louie, I have a 1-4 minor 5. Louie, Louie. Now I want to train, can I just hear a 4 and 5 chord? That's really important because I want to be able to hear the 4 and 5 chords. Any blues will have a 4 and 5 chord. Any rock, pop song usually will if it's major. So 1, 1, 1, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 1, 1, 1. Then I would say major, major, minor. Can I hear that minor chord changing? Okay. So many 1-4-5 songs out there. Wow, dang. You may, okay. Abada bada la bomba. Abada bada la bomba. Or Time of Your Life. Right? Green Day. Or I love rock and roll. Put another 1 and a 5 chord, baby. Or twist and shout. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Twist and 1, 4 to 5. Okay. It goes on and on. It just never ends. So 1, 4, 5. Train your ear on that. Listen for those chords. Next, you'd want to do the 6th chord. Hallelujah. So that's 1 to 6. So that's down a minor third. But if that confuses you, because it's like, what are we talking about? I thought we're talking about the 6th chord. Don't worry about it. It's just that you can think of the 1 as the high octave as 8 down to 6, and that's a minor third. That's where it gets a little confusing. So maybe put aside the theory and can you just go down 3 frets and know that it's the 6th chord. Just trust, okay, for now. If you want to understand it later, you can think about it more later. For now, just know that down 3 frets is down to the 6th chord. So that's the 6. But you don't really, there's a 4, 5, 1. Now even Leonard Cohen says in the song Hallelujah, it goes like this, the 4th, the 5th. He's talking about Roman numerals here. The minor fall, there's the 6th chord, the minor fall, and the major lift is the 4 chord. Okay? So, next would be like songs like Stand By Me. Doom, 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 1 chord, then the 6. Nice and slow progression, then to 4, then to 5, then to 6. So that should get you going, and really it's important to understand that chord progressions have an interval to the root. So if it's a 6th chord, can you hear the 6th chord from the root? Can you hear the 5 chord from the root? Test yourself with it by saying, here's an A. Can I hear the 6th chord? Da, da. Good. Can I hear the 5 chord? Da, da. Can I hear the 4 chord? Da, da. So I can play all those chords now. 6, 4, 5. Even before I play it, I know what it's going to sound like. So, super important stuff. Check out the Patreon for the study guide on this. And we're also doing group lessons over there, so check that out. Hope this helps. It's kind of tough to teach this topic, and usually it takes, at least a couple years of college study. So, not sure if packing it into a 20-minute video is going to be fully, loaded with all the goods. But I'd say it's a pretty good guide to get you moving in the right direction. And I'll be doing more on this later, and the study guide should help as well. So, train your ear, try a different string each time, try a different key each time, get those essential intervals going, and go through all the songs you know and outline the intervals. Can you see the Roman numerals? Can you see how that 4 chord, oh yeah, I hear that now. Oh, there's the 6 chord, I'm starting to hear that. Then you might be walking down the mall and you hear a song on the radio and you can, I know how to play that song even without touching my guitar. That's the goal. Then you can just start writing songs in your head. I mean, it sounds funny, but I do it all the time. And you can just write little fun chord progressions and melodies in your head. And you can basically just live with music inside of you instead of it always needing to be made on an instrument. So the combination of both is where it's at, of course. So there you go. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell icon and the thumbs up. And looking forward to seeing you next lesson. Bye.